All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He's Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, and athletic director. And this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of NBA random thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules random NBA thoughts articles. Steve and I have, which I should say he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules random NBA thoughts article, where he shares his thoughts on the top seven, we shouldn't say top seven, but at least seven interesting players, and that's some key things about those players that could be the key to their team's success this season. Listen, all his articles are good. This one I thought was really interesting. Some good nuggets there that I didn't even know about. Incidentally, the season tips off in exactly 9 days from the time we record this show. I am remote. If you are a regular listener or watcher, thank you, number one. But that's where things might look a little different, maybe not sound as good. Apologies for that. I am on the road this week. But with that as an intro, Steve, are you ready?
Ready.
Let me start the timer. We got 24 minutes. And we're off and running. All right, let's start. You brought up seven interesting players, seven interesting topics. Start with something I hadn't heard anything about. And it's been a busy week for me. Maybe that's why. But there are some rumors, apparently, way too early to have rumors at this point of the season. But there is one bubbling that involves Giannis and the Knicks. How realistic is that?
First of all, you wouldn't hear of it because it has nothing to do with the Lakers. So before we begin, we'll just say this. There's rumor that in August, Shams is reporting it, that the Knicks and the Bucks were talking trade for Giannis. It's interesting. I guess Giannis wants to go to New York. And what it really comes down to is a very simple thing. And there's two ways they can get it done, but do the Bucks want to make Giannis happy, but at the same time kill their team? Do they want to put him out there if they're going to trade him and get the best offer? That's something they have to figure out. The Knicks are limited in what they can offer. First of all, Bridges just signed. He's got to wait 6 months to be able to be traded. So you have Karl-Anthony Towns, which matches salary. But you got Towns, and who else do you want? Anunoby? Because they will not deal Brunson. They're nice players, but I wouldn't even think of it. If I'm trading Giannis for them, I'd want a bunch of draft picks and try to figure the whole thing out. The Knicks don't have any. They traded them, not many, because they traded them all for Bridges last year. So they're limited. Now, the other thing that can happen, the only way it can happen, is if the Knicks can figure a way to trade one of their players to somebody else, get a bunch of whatever Milwaukee wants, draft picks and things like that, and then be able to offer that to the Bucks. They do have to match salaries. So I don't think it's going to be talked about. And watch how Milwaukee does at the beginning of the season. If Milwaukee struggles, you're going to hear about it. Now, I am pretty sure that Houston and teams like that are going to be interested in Giannis. And Houston's got draft picks. So it's going to be interesting. The other thing to look at, if you're Milwaukee and you're getting Houston's draft picks, now common sense tells you if they're getting Giannis in the next 3-4 years, they're going to have a top 10 team. Or a top 5 team, whatever. So you're not getting a great draft pick. So again, you have to be judicious about how you pick and choose what you want in that. The 3-way deal might be the best thing, but it does come back to, does Milwaukee want to satisfy him for winning them a title at the expense of, I know in my lifetime, Milwaukee will never win another title. Because if you're going to take, let's say, Anunoby and Bridges and some fodder, that's not enough. But more importantly, that ain't getting you. It might get you to playoffs, but you're not thinking about playing for any titles. So that's where it's at. And to me, it's interesting. And it's interesting what Giannis will do. And what's also one more piece. Giannis is a pretty loyal person.
Sure.
But evidently, he did make it clear to his team, to the Bucks, that he would go to New York. So he's not coming out and saying, I want to be traded, but he is. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. Interesting indeed. Like I said, way too early for rumors, but that just means it's going to be an interesting season. And for the record, I did this last week. I'll do it again this week. You brought up the Lakers. I did not. I'm just throwing that out there. Item number 2 happens to be the Lakers, coincidentally.
Shock.
You wrote about the team you wrote about. We're talking about what you wrote about.
It's still a shock.
It's still a shock. LeBron James. Okay. Uncharted territory. This is what you wrote. What does that mean for LeBron? What did you mean when you said it is uncharted territory this season?
Brown spent his whole career going to the teams he wanted to go to, holding up other teams saying, I want this person traded for this guy. And then if it doesn't work out, he has nothing to do with it. He always says. He's always covered himself real well. However, now he's got the shoes on the other foot. He's making a lot of money, 50 million or so. Nobody's going to take him because 50 million, you got to make up that salary in the deal. But more importantly, he's in his 40s and he's out for a couple of weeks now. So you're going to trade for somebody who really, and he might retire at the end of the year, or he might be injured enough where he just so beat up that he can't play. So why would anybody trade him? He's with the Lakers. The Lakers are counting the days till his contract comes off the books, and they don't sign somebody else. By the way, the Lakers, tying it to Giannis, the Lakers, in the back of their mind, were thinking Giannis would want to come to the Lakers in a year. They do have pieces to trade now, but in a year or two, when the money starts coming off the books, they'd have the money to offer him 2 years in free agency. So the Lakers are a little bit shunned because, like bridesmaids, because Giannis is saying, no, I want to go to New York. And that's very interesting because, let's face it, I know the Lakers have won a couple titles here and there, but they've won them usually by getting free agents from other teams. They never do it organically. It's just who the Lakers are. And this is another chance for them, thinking they can get Giannis, and it's not happening. But the bigger issue here is LeBron James, who has called the shots throughout his career. He wants this, he gets that. That's over. And that's the bigger issue. I really wonder if LeBron will want to stick around knowing things aren't going to get better. Things are going to be, he's become another player, a good player, but another player that can get traded.
Yeah. Going to be an interesting season in LA all the way around. Incidentally, just for the record, before we go on to item number 3, it's 17 world champions. You said a few, just throwing that out there. You wrote that you are high, and I'm going to move on quick because I know we're going to go down rabbit holes otherwise. You wrote that you were high on the Orlando Magic, which I love. This is a team that it just hasn't done anything really since Shaq was there. But you qualified it. You were high on the Orlando Magic, but only if what?
Before you do that, just keep in mind something important. How many titles did they win without having to buy a player? None. I mean, back in the 70s, Will Chamberlain they had to trade for. Probably the only ones they had was when the team was in Minnesota. The Minneapolis Lakers, that's even another thing. They take that title. They claim those titles. So let's put that aside, though, because talking about the Lakers is just boring. But go ahead, what were you just mentioning? The Lakers? Or what were you mentioning with the other thing?
Magic. The Orlando Magic.
I get a little upset because the Laker fans think they've won. They get the best player in the free agency, and then they think they're geniuses.
That's the job. Get the best player, win the game. That's the job.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes maybe you ought to draft them. Sometimes maybe even Kobe Bryant, they had to steal. So it's true.
Okay.
The guy who went with him, Shaq, was a free agent. Did they ever draft? Magic is one of the few people Jerry West, that they ever drafted that really could help them. But let's put that aside because we know this. But the Orlando Magic, they have 3 really good scorers. They went out of their way to trade for Desmond Bain. They gave up a lot. They have Bain and Carroll and Hugman. Those are 3 real good players, scorers, good players, good defense, and they have a lot of length. So defensively, they're trouble. However, the whole key to them, if you watch them for 10 minutes, you'll realize if he's healthy, is Jalen Suggs. He had pretty important major knee surgery in the offseason. He was hurt for much of last year. If he comes back, look out. They're good, but they need him. He's the heart and soul. If you watch him on the court, he's the director. He tells people what he's just running the show. And he is a good player. He's a great defender. He's a clutch shooter. When Banchero and Wagner were hurt last year, they hung around. And a lot of it was Suggs carrying the mess early in the season. So Jalen Suggs is one of the most underrated players. And if you're a good NBA fan, you'll watch him and realize how good if he's healthy. And I really do hope he's healthy because he can really throw a crimp into the Cavaliers and Knicks plans and make it a lot of fun.
Excited to see that. I think that the Magic may very well be that surprise Cinderella team this season, the surprise Cinderella team last season. How's that for a segue? The Detroit Pistons in a lot of ways. You wrote about them. Really good NBA teams have two of what? And what does that mean?
Two scorers. Think about the teams ahead of Detroit last year. They lost to the Knicks. They've got two scorers. Boston has two scorers. They were ahead of them last year. Even Minnesota, Orlando, who wasn't ahead of them, had two scorers. So you need two scorers to really take an effect in the league. They only have Cunningham. They have Jaden Ivey and Doran. Those two have potential. Ivey was hurt much of last year. Doran is a bull on the boards, a real good rebounder, and he's a good scorer. He can score inside, and he can put back and do those things. But they really need, and they've got Tobias Harris and the kid Holland, who's a nice player, but he's not a scorer. They really need somebody that can go get them 20 every night. Now, I'm going to say this. If they don't find them, which I don't think they will, Detroit will be the unsurprise of the year, meaning they'll be a 6th or 7th place team. And Cade Cunningham's great. They need more. And they don't have, by the way, they lost Dennis Schroeder. Beasley right now is not with them. Tim Hardaway. Those guys, they're not number 2 scorers, but they all can put the ball in the basket. So they lost a lot of offense there. So they're a team. I know everybody wants to, because it's a sexy pick, because they won, 10 games 2 years ago. It's beautiful how good to see them win. But people have to realize they need more. And I don't think you're going to get it from Tobias Harris. So if Doran and Ivy can develop, they could be good. But I honestly don't see that. Ivy was hurt much last year. He's not progressed along where he should be. So I don't see it. I know everybody likes to talk about Detroit and how wonderful they are and all that. And by the way, when you play Detroit, it's the old bump and grind. Every basket is earned. Every play is earned. They defend well. They do a lot of things, but sometimes they just can't score. And when you lose a Beasley, they're losing that open three. That good shooter is wide open.
Yeah. Yeah, we love a good Cinderella story. And I think in general, we had that in Detroit last season. But this season, you got to make a move. You got to improve. And that certainly means somebody else stepping up. Let's see how that plays out. We go from the East back to the West. Deandre Ayton, he's only 27 years old. This was a guy who's always been pretty solid, never spectacular. You expect a lot more from somebody drafted where he was. Is it too early to call him a bust? Is it too late for him to make a dramatic jump in his career?
It's not too late, but he's a bust. He was the first pick in the draft. First pick. Yeah. He went to Phoenix. They went to the finals against Milwaukee. They lost. He was an old school center who could post up and score, but had a nice little floater in the middle, moving towards the middle when he got the ball in the post. He could do some nice things offensively. Now he's with the Lakers. He's got Luka. Luka loves a big who can screen and roll, and he loves to throw the ball up to him and let him throw it down. That's how Lively and Rick and the other guy in Detroit, Gafford, made their way through him, and everybody loved Lively 2 years ago. He's been hurt, though. But the point being, he adds something. He's also a rim protector. If he's also been bought out, on a small contract with the Lakers, but he walked away with a lot of money from the second team he failed with. Portland couldn't wait to get, they bought him out. They didn't even try to trade him. So it tells you something about what they thought about him. And all the word is he's not a great team person. So they've got those problems. The Lakers are hoping, again, we go back to what we're talking about. He's with the Lakers. Oh my God, mountains are going to be moved and he'll be great. And he might be because he's talented and he's good. But I don't know if he's motivated. He might be, he's got to be now because he's got to realize his contract's going to be up soon. He can make a lot of money still. And he's still young, as you said. So that's got to be something. And boy, if LeBron's out for any period of time, it's their biggest hope. Naturally, they have Reeves, but Ayton, they need him badly around the basket defensively and offensively for what he can do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a prove-it year for this guy. It's good to hear you say that he could still make a dramatic jump. I'm not as sold. I think he is who he is. I think he's going to be, he'll have great games. He'll have really bad games. I think he is who he is. At 27 years old, for the most part, you are who you are. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting year.
One of the worst things if you're an NBA player is to be talented and really not be motivated. And that's the shame of it for him. Because when he came out of college, I thought this guy would be just incredibly good. And don't forget, his game is a game that would have fit better 20 years ago as a big man. So that's another.
Exactly.
Now you want somebody screening and really playing up high and ball mover.
Shooting threes.
Like that. Yeah. And that's not him, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. The quintessential, oddly enough, we go back to the basket center, plays in LA. And I think that's Ivica Zubac, right? You could argue Joel Embiid, but he'll make a three every now and again. Zubac doesn't shoot threes, doesn't make threes. He's the quintessential kind of center that I think they'd be happy if Deandre Ayton just does that. Just be solid every night, get the rebounds, block some shots, and score 10 to 15 points a game.
The way, but don't forget, you put a team together and you have 5 different players. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is more of a 2-point shooter for 15 feet. He scores a lot of points with that.
Yeah.
What fits better than a guy who wants to down on the block with a Luka who likes to go to the basket and Reeves who likes to go to the basket? Because now you're clogging that up. So there's a point to it. That's why when you play 5 out, meaning 5 guys on the perimeter, you're opening up the lanes to go to the basket. And 2 things can happen.
Yeah.
You can go to the basket and kick it. You read who's defending you, who's dropped to defend you from where. Generally, it's from the weak side, and you kick it there. That's an important part to it. Ayton will take that away from Luka, and it might frustrate him.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting year in LA, no doubt, especially with LeBron out. Let's keep talking about big guys. What does a healthy Kristaps Porziņģis mean for the Atlanta Hawks' chances this season?
Kristaps Porziņģis he's your bailout in 24 seconds. He's your guy when everything else fails. He likes to post at the mid, not in the deep back, about 12 feet out. And he's got a little turnaround in the middle in the paint there as he catches. Nobody can block that. And it's a great bailout. He's also a guy that can shoot a 3 very effectively. So you've got all that. All of a sudden, Trae Young has got a running mate because not only can he pick screen for him, but he's not going to always dive to the basket. He might pop back. And he's got a lot of offensive ability that will help them. Because previously, Atlanta had Capella, and all he could do was go to the basket, take the lob, and throw it down. Porzingis is a multi-talented player. The problem here is how many games is he going to play. He doesn't play. He's only averaged 51 games, I believe, over his 10-year career. And that's in an 82-game season. So you take him and you're gambling. When Boston had him, the first year they won a title, if you remember, Porzingis got hurt for a lot, but he also got hurt in the first game of the playoffs against Miami and didn't come back till the Dallas series. So Boston got back with Horford as the big. So again, Porzingis being out is the biggest factor. If he plays, don't forget, Tyson Daniels, nice player. Real good defender. Jalen Johnson, another good player. They've got some players that are pretty good. All they need is the big that can do what he can do. And if they get that, they're dangerous. I don't know if they're good enough to get to the finals of the Eastern Conference, but they're nobody's pushover if Porzingis is healthy. And that's a very important piece.
And a big yes, but good to hear. It's fun talking about teams we don't normally talk about. The Magic, now the Hawks. I certainly hope good things for both of those teams. Let's end with a team that we usually talk about. This is a team that is always in the running, always had good teams, great leadership. That's the Miami Heat. This season, it's a little different. No one outside of Miami is expecting much from the Heat. They have three really good players in Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Norman Powell. But you called out somebody else as a key to that team. Who and why?
First of all, I thought you were going to say we were going to talk about another team. I thought it was the Lakers. But let me just explain with the Heat, Khalil Ware.
Yeah.
Khalil Ware is only a second-year player. He's a player. He's legit. How quickly is he going to develop? Because don't forget, if you have Khalil Ware, now you can move Bam to the 4. And Bam can guard anybody. And you've got the rim protector who's good around the basket. So now you've changed your whole makeup and rebounding and size-wise, you're going to make it a lot better. Don't forget, Tyler Hero's not a good defender. But all of a sudden, you got these two guys protecting. So that's going to take away a little bit from the other team when they do beat Tyler Hero. Dwight Powell, not a great defender, but a pretty good offensive player. They've got some firepower if Ware takes a couple steps. If he does, Miami could be a dangerous team. I don't think they're good enough to compete to get to the finals, but I think they can be dangerous. He is important. It's going to happen with Ware unless something crazy happens. He's going to be a player. The big question here is, when does he become a player? If he does, Miami suddenly goes from a play-in team to a solid playoff 5th or 6th place team. That's a big thing for the Heat because this year people were figuring they're just taking a pass on the year. And so it'll be interesting to see where the Heat go. It depends on what they have. What do you think?
I mean, I'm a West Coast guy, so
Norman Powell's there. That's why
Norman Powell's a phenomenal player, like a really good player, solid player. Had his best season last year for the Clippers, and I expect him to blossom in Miami because he's going to hit it with the Clippers. With Kawhi being out a lot, he had a lot of opportunity. I think he's going to have as many shots, or maybe more, in Miami. Tyler Hero might muddy that water up a little bit for him, but he's going to be good because he is always good. But I don't know. It seems Miami right now I think it's a kind of, you said playing for them. I didn't even think they were that. You never ever discount a team led by guys like Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, just like you never discounted the Pop in his first teams. I expect good things because they're Miami Heat.
Okay. I don't forget, by the way, Spoelstra will be the Olympic coach.
Yeah, I just saw that. This is very good news. Yeah, agreed. We got a couple of seconds left before the shot clock. I'm going to try and sneak in one thing. We mentioned the Bucks. What do they owe Giannis? We talked about LeBron. What does the NBA owe LeBron? Okay. And let me answer that in the form of a question. Because the buzz is about to go off. Well, let me have it. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I tried to line that up. But let's talk about it because I think it's a valid question. Otherwise, we would have beat the shot clock and that's boring. Do the Bucks owe Giannis anything? And does the NBA owe LeBron James anything?
It's a great question. I think who goes to work in the morning and lives his life says no, because his company would fire him in a minute and think twice.
Yeah.
We all know, though, in the NBA, it's the players make the team. So I think to some extent they owe him, but not to the extent to sell their franchise down the river if they can get better somewhere else. And by that, let me clarify it. That means that you don't trade him to a place like, I don't know, Minnesota, although they're good. But a city that might not be, you try to find like
Meadow, Charlotte.
Yeah, you don't do that, but you do try to find a place that could win for him, but also is a place he wouldn't mind going to. When Damian was traded 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, what did they do? He wanted to go to the Heat, and they tried with the Heat, and they couldn't come to an agreement. But he didn't get traded to nobody. He got traded to another team that could win.
Yeah.
And didn't, obviously. But the point being, they were being fair with him and not just taking whatever they can get their hands on. And I guess
Right.
that would be the best way to try to answer it. But it's interesting. It's really interesting when you think about that, because again, yeah, they won a title. The city made money. Everybody made money that year. But he's also getting paid a lot of money. You go both ways.
Interesting conversation. Thought it was worth taking the shot clock violation to discuss it. But that's it. Our time is up. You heard the buzzer. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you are hearing or watching this today. As always, please subscribe, follow. It means a lot. We're grateful for all of it. And join us next week for more Random NBA Thoughts as we count down the start of the 2025-26 NBA season, which is 9 days away. We will talk next week.
Take care.
Thanks.